The markets are continuing to bleed out as a strong dollar, high price of gas, more concern over a government shutdown is weighing on literally everything right now. We're going to jump into that and more today on Money Never Sleeps. Welcome back, everybody. Excited to be here with you today. As we get going, hit that button down below. Give us a like, subscribe, drop some comments, all of that good stuff. Nothing that Kevin or I say is financial advice. We're not financial advisors. Or if you guys who love following the markets, having a grand old time doing it. So please do your own research before making any buys or sells. And don't let that research be from these absolutely ridiculous moon boys who couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. Like, it is unreal, some of the stuff we're still seeing, Kev. The belief that we're heading into October, that everything is going to be fine, that, student debt, it's not that big of a deal. Oil price going up, it's not that big of a deal. Strongest dollar we've seen in over a year, it's not that big of a deal. All of this stuff is adding up and it's weighing on the markets, and we're seeing that play out, and it is only a matter of time until the levee fully breaks.
Yeah, I mean, let's put it this way. I was expecting a bounce, some type of bounce this week. We're not fucking seeing it. And every time we do get a little bit of bounce in the day, we can see that they sell off right after they buy it. It's a very scary place because, again, I think that we are in the position where, the top has been put in for this move that we put in this year. And now we're kind of in this trend to the downside again. And I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out after, this week with the government shutdown and everything like that. But this is pretty fucking bad. And the best part is the worst of it hasn't even hit yet. There is no news that's driven us to an absolute fucking capitulation event yet. And I think there is about one or two capitulation events ahead of us in different types of the markets, and maybe even three. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. But it's absolutely bloody today. It's been bloody this week. Fucking absolutely. I don't know. Just absolutely fucking amazing. I said absolutely like 10 times, but I don't care. I'm so fucking jacked right now.
We don't know what's going to happen next. We don't know if it's going to continue down, if we're going to get, I think we saw the relief on Monday. We saw that little bounce in equities, in crypto overnight. Everyone woke up to crypto, ETH being at 1620, Bitcoin being almost at 27K. Well, guess what? That is right back down. There's no strength right now to send crypto higher. There just isn't. It's not happening. You got Gary Gensler, old Tweedledick over there, testifying that, Bitcoin's not a security, but it's also not a commodity. And then, talking about digital assets. Well, they're not secure, or like a Pokemon card isn't a security, but a digital one, I don't know too much about that. Like, you got this guy talking out both sides of his mouth. Meanwhile, geriatric Maxine Waters saying that everyone loves him. He's doing a great job. All these geezers need to sit the fuck down and get out because they are not helping the situation in the least bit. All right, rant over on that one. It's really, really tough out there, man. Like, I hear people saying like, oh yeah, we'll see the VIX go up. Don't think it's going to touch 40. I will disagree with you on that one. I think we're going to see it well above 40. It is definitely going above that level. It's on its way to 20 now. We discussed just the other day. We got the dollar marching up toward 107. I mean, this thing is a fucking piss missile. Meanwhile, we got the euro dollar under 105 for the first time since December of last year. Everything is lining up for this to continue to be brutal. And that is still, people are still optimistic about the government shutdown. People still think that we're going to see I'm telling you, man, Friday could be an absolute massacre. If we don't have a deal in place by the time the markets close on Friday, if we see a hot inflation number, which I still firmly believe is going to happen, like, this could just be the appetizer. Like, it could start to get, and I don't even think Friday is the main course. I think it goes like, today's like our soup. And then after this, we got like another little appetizer. And then we get the main course. It's gonna get ugly, man. Like, I hope people are ready. I hope they've prepared themselves for this. I hope at least the people, you can't help everyone. I hope the people who have listened to our show have been doing well because I think that we've done a pretty damn good job since we started this channel up, like giving no nonsense advice that has been pretty accurate. Like we were talking about a lot of this stuff weeks or even months before other people will. And I think we're going to continue to see that play out because it's not the sexiest stuff, but it's what fucking matters right now. So either way, there was some economic data this morning around durable goods that came in better than expected. The market didn't really care because that is like the least of their worries right now. Like that got played up as like, oh, well, this is a positive. No one fucking cares. Okay. Just put that shit out the window. We are in always sunny from Philadelphia mode. You got to go out. You got to buy barrels of oil, keep it in your basement, sell it door to door to try to make a buck. It's fucking ugly out there. The march towards $100 for Brent crude is it's chugging away, man. WTI at 93.57, highest price it's been in a while. If you look at the bonds, bond rates on the longer duration ones are on their way back up. Short duration ones are going down a bit. So people are trying to buy those short bonds because they don't want to keep their money in risk assets right now. And I do not blame them. Let's see, what else do we have? I mean, Tesla's eating shit today. Meta on the 5-minute. I mean, Meta's getting absolutely bludgeoned at this moment.
Apple's had a bad week too, dude.
I'm not sure what the catalyst for today's Meta sell-off was, but it ain't great. Like I said, Tesla's down how much? 3.25% today. Apple is getting beat up over the last few days as well. They've been down over the over the last week.
It's like over $10, dude.
Yeah, over the last week, Apple is down 5.5%. So not great, Bob. Kev, what else, is on your mind right now? I feel like those are the main things. Right now, it is crypto took another dump. Bitcoin's on its way back to 26. At this point for me, man, it's a really narrow the scope of focus and just be highly, highly in tune with that. Like, I'm not trying to focus on every little part. Like, what are the biggest things the biggest indicators in the markets right now that are going to be the drivers in the months ahead? And I think we've been really focused on that with the dollar, the price of oil, how that's impacting inflation, the trickle down effect. If you want to call it that, you can call it a cascading effect too, that is going to have. But anything else outside of CZ, who I know that you have on your dartboard and throw darts at every day.
That motherfucker.
We don't need to talk about him and his OnlyFans models. I don't feel like that's too significant to the situation right now.
This man's going out like fucking Tony Montana, just snorting as much fucking coke as he possibly can, and then he's just gonna be fighting Gary Gensler. I'm not gonna say with what, but
you're never gonna take me alive, Gary.
That's exactly where this motherfucker is. He's got a blimp going over his house saying the world is ours. Son of a bitch. But yeah, this is in terms of what I'm looking at in the market, I think the biggest thing today for me was where the S&P just crossed. I was talking about this 4250 level for the S&P. If we cross that, I think the machines are going to start selling on a lot of these trading desks. And we're currently sitting at 4244. I was just at 4243. See that we're down 30 points once again. I think that the deeper we go, are going to start seeing a lot of these limit orders, to sell just to take profit, or, just make sure stop losses aren't going too unchecked. I think that we're going to start seeing a lot of that. So that's one of the big things for me, seeing how this level reacts with if there is a bounce. I don't know. I really don't know at this point. It just seems like this market is tumbling pretty quick. But the question is, it's tumbling and nothing really crazy has happened yet, right? We haven't gotten any type of things that could absolutely just wreck the market. We got a little bit of news out of UBS. They had to halt their trading today, which is really interesting because it was down like 7% today. And I was kind of talking about this on Twitter the other day, and I was saying that back in 2008, we saw a lot of trading days were halted just because it was like rapid selling really quick. And then it got to the point where eventually the SEC had to pause short selling for a period of time. So I'm really interested in seeing if we do get a couple more days that are very similar to that, where, a lot of stocks have to be halted just because of market volatility. And if it gets really bad, I wouldn't be surprised if the SEC does that again. It's another play that they have the ability to do. And if that's the case, then, there's not much people can really do than either buy or sell, but they're not going to short sell, with futures or perps. So it'd be really interesting to see how that plays out. Yeah, man, there's so much red in the fucking market. I don't even know where to begin. I mean, we could talk about literally anything. Everything just looks like shit right now, except for the few things that are inverse of, factors like the VIX and the dollar.
Yeah, the dollar just crossed 106.8. It is, I mean, this is, if you let's just pull up the dollar on the daily and just,
You got it.
let's look back to July, man, when we had like 5 red days in a row. Everyone thought it was risk on season, and then it just bounced off of that 99.5 level, and it has been churning up ever since then. I mean, this is it's a strong looking dollar right there.
Dude, remember when everyone was saying that the dollar was dead and we were bullish on the dollar fucking months ago, saying that there is going to be a resurgence and when it does come back, it's going to be a face melter going up? Well, guys, we broke that level. Again, we talked about it for the longest. I deleted it because obviously we're not going to keep it on there if it's not valid anymore. But we did break this parallel channel that we were in, right? And we did a pretty good job with breaking it too. So we broke out of this channel, clearly did. We got the golden cross here. Now we're going towards the next level of resistance, which is 107.193. We're not too far from it. I honestly think that we're going to start taking out some of these higher levels of resistance, right? Fuck, I mean, there's what reason would we not at this point? The markets are selling off. There's a lot of volatility right now. Other currencies in the world are absolutely tanking. Oil's going up. I think a lot of people are starting to get scared. I think a lot of institutions are probably, took profit and now they're sitting inside in cash. Money markets are continuing to be extremely strong right now. It's pretty obvious that the dollars, kind of gave the market away, even though before it hit this 106.8 level, it kind of gave the market away just in the fact that it was breaking that parallel channel. That was key resistance for a long time. But yeah, I mean, sure, overbought on the daily, overbought on the weekly, but look at the monthly. We still got plenty of room to the upside for this. And, we got the monthly close on Friday. Be interesting to see how much this moves, but I think that there's still tons of room for it to continue to go up. And again, nothing is broken yet. So we can't really gauge whether the dollar is going to shoot up any higher past some of these levels of resistance, even if it goes up to here. I mean, there's a very possible chance that we can even go to this one level up here, which is 122.465, which was kind of the target that a lot of people were pointing out back here in September of 2022, thinking that the dollar could reach that. Could it reach that again this time around? Possibly. It depends on just where we start closing, on the monthly above some of these levels. So we're going to stay diligent on this one. We're going to keep an eye on it, but it definitely gave the game away. You can't deny the fact that the dollar is one of the strongest assets right now in the market.
Yep. Completely agree. We see the VIX crossing 19.5. You look at the VIX on the monthly, the biggest green month in quite a while. And on that monthly, it is still very oversold.
Look at this. Dude, look at January 2020 and look at us right here. Those candles are pretty fucking even. What came after that? So I'm not saying, again, that's just me just noticing that right now, but every time you kind of get a candle similar to this, you get a little spike up. So right here, we got in February 2018, VIX spiked up to 50. Right here in October 2018, VIX spiked up to 36 in the months following. Right here, spiked up all the way to 80, was it 85? 85 for COVID. And here we are again. And, this is really interesting to see. We're oversold on the monthly. There's plenty of room to the upside. If the S&P continues to be crazy like it is right now, I mean, we could get another fucking nice little candle there. So
people people are going to see that and say, well, that was COVID. We're not going to see another pandemic. Well, guess what? It doesn't have to be a fucking pandemic.
Right.
We already know that come Saturday, there might be a government shutdown. We already know that there continue to be tensions globally. The war in Ukraine is still going. It is still leading to problems. It doesn't have to be a pandemic. It can be literally any number of things. And when the market is as weak as it is, people don't want to think about bad things happening, right? Just by nature. Try to think of what are the good things that could happen right now that are going to lead to the market recovering and volatility going down. I have a hard time with that.
I got one.
Really hard time with that. What's that?
The government shuts down and they can't deny any of the Bitcoin spot ETFs. The best theory I've fucking heard on Twitter all day. We are definitely in full delusion right now in this market.
That's what, yeah. If people are hanging their bullish sentiment on that one thing, and that's it, that ain't pretty. That is not. I mean, that is a wish in one hand, shit in the other situation if I've ever seen one. And if you ever tried that little experiment, it gets nasty. Okay. Yeah. What else do we want to look at? We've looked at the VIX. We've looked at the dollar. We see, total market cap for crypto is in that 1.02 trillion range. It's just holding on for dear life. The stablecoin dominance is starting to pick back up again. Bitcoin dominance just went back below 50 by a little bit, but that's because more and more people are moving to stables at this point or just cashing out altogether. What do you want to talk about next?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest here. The market's not, ready for a pump to the upside. You kind of got it this morning, and then you got rejected, a few hours later. I wasn't even awake for this because this happened like so early in the morning today, and I went to bed late. And then by the time I woke up, it was already back down here. So it was like I didn't even fucking notice anything happened. But when we look at this on the macro, like this is what happened on the hourly for Bitcoin. We're just putting in a lower high, right? Compared to this, we got rejected right at this 26,813 level, which is a huge level of support back here in September. Was that not even? No, my bad. It's a level of resistance that we found throughout September, right? We found the resistance here. We broke above it, and then we came back down below it. We tested it again. We're over. We got rejected from it. Is what it is. If we look on the daily too, you can see it's like, yeah, sure, we could potentially go up higher here if we want to liquidate a lot of positions. But again, we're talking about how there isn't a lot of money in the market. There's nothing, no one really wants to put anything into the market right now. Just based on how price action is, we got rejected off the 50 moving average, the EMA on the daily. That's why we are where we currently are. This little wick up here was absolutely to liquidate people. We did say that there was a lot of liquidations above this level and that there was a good chance that we could wipe out most of them. It didn't go as high as we had thought it could have, but it just shows you that there is weakness in this market and they're just trying to get any liquidity that they possibly can. Now, the reason why this market hasn't dropped yet, we keep testing this 26 level and it won't break underneath it. I honestly believe it's because of all the stable coins that we are seeing. And I bring up this guy because I bring him up every day because he's a motherfucker. But CZ and his boyfriend, Justin's son, are absolutely just propping this market up with TUSD, FDUSD. We saw that CZ's trying to create a new stable coin, fiat backed in Japan. I don't like every time we see stablecoin with these motherfuckers, that it's just talking about manipulation because there's no money coming into this market, right? So I think these stablecoins are propping up the market. And if something were to happen to one of them or even the Binance itself, if Binance goes under or say he gets in trouble for whatever fucking thing, there's a good chance that this market just drops hardcore because there's no one that's propping it up. I saw a chart on Twitter and a couple of other, traders I trust were showing it. And it was talking about, how the volatility has been on Binance as opposed to other exchanges for Bitcoin's price using stable coins. And for Binance, it was just like the nastiest leg straight up, just like probably like the steepest cliff you could possibly imagine. And it just showed you how irrational some of the trading's been on Binance. They're absolutely propping the market up. I don't care if, allegedly whatever that bullshit is, but they are definitely doing some funky shit over there. And the market is not strong enough to push up higher, so all they're doing is holding it up. But soon Atlas is going to let go. Atlas shrugs, and we're going to start seeing some price action to the downside. So that's one of the main things that we have to keep an eye on. Also doesn't help that, looks like Evergrande, they are going after some of their people now. One of the, I think it was a chairman of Evergrande just got arrested too. So a lot of liquidity that is in China for Binance. It's not helping him. So obviously he's going to resort to a lot of these stable coins. And that's why we're seeing Bitcoin's price not really pushing up here. Again, we're in a liquidity crunch, the credit crunch, and we definitely have it in the US. And it seems like we're starting to see it globally. So that's not going to help Bitcoin's price. But yeah, we got rejected at the 50 moving average on the daily. We are going to be oversold fairly soon, but that doesn't mean much, I think, in this regard, because I think any moves that we have to the upside are very short lived. And I think that we're going to see a lot more, not panic selling, but a lot more volatility and faster moves to the downside since we are in a trend, I still believe. And, we still got to watch this 25.28 level to see if we break it. And then if we go above 25.580, which is possible, it seems unlikely here, then we just need to be careful because that could be 100% an absolute trap to get people to buy in at the top and then they just sell it all the way down. But I don't know if we have the strength to even get there at this point. This market just seems like it is absolutely just wrecking havoc on some of these alts still too. There's Bitcoin dominance isn't that strong compared to where it was a few months ago, but you can still see that some of these took a pretty good dump today. But it's being propped up. It's not seen as bad of a day as some of these major indices. I think TradFi is the one that's selling off more than anything now. Crypto is kind of being propped up here.
Yep, it sure does feel that way. So we've taken a look at Bitcoin. Let's look at ETH. I see our you got Matic right there. We got our bet still I'm sweating that one out, man. Couple months left to see if we can keep Matic above 30 cents. What are you seeing with ETH here? We're in this this bull flag parallel channel, blah blah blah. But I don't know. What's the catalyst that could really push it out of that?
I don't see it. I maybe I'm fucking wrong here, right? I don't see a place where we're gonna get higher than this 50 moving average right here. I think this could be 100% just a slow bleed. People are getting out of the market. We're making lower highs. Excuse me. We're making lower highs here. I feel like we have just a little bit of support down here, and we're gonna have to test some of these lower lows. I wouldn't be surprised if we do get to see ETH at some point in the near future back closer to 1,000. I have this 1,083. This is a level I've wanted it to break for the longest, or at least retest. And I think that we are going to be on our way to seeing that. The question is, are we going to see a lot of the support that's down here that's kind of weak? I honestly believe that we have some really fucking weak support down here. We can see on the daily. You can see this move from 1338 to 1463. There's all gaps. We don't have much support. We got a bit of a dump here during the banking crisis back in March, but it shot back up. So I think a lot of what we're seeing on this side is really weak support, and we're going to have to come down and we're going to see if this is willing to hold. But I do think if we do see ETH and a lot of the alts start to drop, it's going to be pretty fucking fast. I think so. Even though Matic, like we were talking about it, it's 20 cents above where our target is to see who wins that bet. I mean, if ETH drops, obviously other alts are going to drop pretty significantly. So let's check this here. From where we currently are to here is 7.66%. And to this yellow line is about 16% on the dot to where we could see some of these levels of support being tested. I mean, if that's the case, then alts are going to bleed even more, right? But I honestly believe that this might be a lie. This might not be an actual bull flag. I think we're going to see maybe, if anything, a little bounce, and then it's going to just continue down. But I think there's a lot of weakness here for alts. But once Bitcoin decides to go, then that's probably when we're going to see some of these motherfuckers move.
I want to touch on this question. First off, Scotch and Stocks, great name. Second, thank you for joining the show.
Yeah, thank you.
For this, I don't think so yet. I still, I look at the target probabilities for the next Fed meeting, and if we were starting to price in a bad PCE reading on Friday, I would imagine, maybe I'm wrong here, the funds probabilities would be moving more toward a rate hike, but still showing 77.5% chance of a skip in November. Now, I think that will change with PCE on Friday because I am one of those people who's expecting PCE to come in hot, especially when we look at, what oil has done over the last couple of months and continues to do. So I don't think it's priced in yet. I think we're going to see, that's why I still think Friday is going to be a rough day. I think we're going to get bad PCE. I don't know if we're going to make progress on, averting that shutdown, but man, it's, it could be getting priced in, but I just don't buy it. I think it would be a lot worse if the markets were reacting to a potential rate hike and a bad PCE reading.
Yeah, I don't think it's priced in either. Again, that might be just me with bearish sentiment, but I think a lot of people are still pretty optimistic, especially on TradFi. And my problem with TradFi too is we're talking about liquidity crunches and credit crunches, right? So if we do get a really hot reading, obviously that's gonna kind of signal that there are going to be rate hikes either the next meeting or the meeting after. Especially, I don't know if we're going to get the data from October in time. Again, we don't know what will happen until we're at that point. But I think that if it comes in really hot, we start seeing, obviously stocks and everything go up. We might see the market actually sell off a little bit more, depending on maybe some of these large institutions, banking on the idea that, okay, this is going to get bad soon. Maybe we know that something bad is going to happen. There is going to be a capitulation event. Liquidity is going to dry up pretty quick once that happens. We want to get ahead of this. As more companies start selling off, then obviously there's going to be less liquidity where they can pull from. And if rates remain high, they can't borrow as easily. And, some of these programs, I wouldn't be surprised if the Fed pulls the rug on some of these other programs too. Could be the perfect opportunity for them to do it right before the shutdown, but we'll see. I think that we are going to see further downside. And like I said before, back in early September, shorter corrective waves, and then more impulsive waves down.
Chris, for your question here, based on, my recollection of these situations, when we've been getting that short resolution that, funds it for another 4 weeks, it always feels like there's a little bounce when that news happens. but then people digest that, realize, oh shit, we got to go through that whole thing again. And then it continues downward. So if we get something over the weekend or early next week, I wouldn't be surprised if like that day and the next things turn green a little bit. And then we'll start getting data, right? Like we get PCE this week. If they don't get a continuing resolution, we'll miss out on the JOLTS report next Tuesday. We'll miss out on the unemployment report the following Friday. Those are obviously important ones for the Fed. We should be getting CPI the week after that. Another one that the Fed is going to be obviously looking at. So I don't know. I think that there is just too much uncertainty out there, and markets don't like uncertainty, which is why we are seeing this current behavior. And if we get a hot reading and we see the target probabilities move to like a 50-50 kind of situation, that's more uncertainty, more selling, in my opinion. So that's how I am interpreting this. That's how I am going to be acting. And if I'm wrong, so be it. But I have a very strong confidence that I'm going to be right on this one.
Yeah. And then if we look back even at some of the previous government shutdowns too, for how the markets have reacted, back in, I think it was 2018, that was when Trump was in office, it went up the market. And then if we look back in the 70s, I think it went down like 4 or 5%. But on average, the markets have been pretty even whenever there's been a government shutdown. I think the macroeconomic environment is going to play more into it. I think a lot of people are getting bullish because of what happened last time when Trump was in office. I don't necessarily believe that we're in the same economy or we're in the same type of, we're definitely not in the same type of market in terms of rates, right? Rates are fucking astronomical right now compared to where they were in 2018. Was the market in a bad place closer to 2019? Absolutely. That's probably why we're still seeing some of the effects of that and COVID-19, stimulus that are leading into what we think is going to be a pretty bad move. But I think that with everything that's going on here with credit tightening, I think it's more likely that bad news is going to be extremely bad news for the markets. Again, not financial advice whatsoever, but I think that if we're looking at this historically, 70s was not a good time for the markets in general. And then we got a government shutdown. 2018 wasn't a bad time, so the markets went up. We're in a pretty bad fucking place right here. And I think that that's a pretty good indicator that's, maybe this is more in tune with the 70s as opposed to 2018. So that's just one thing to bring up. I do want to talk about total market cap real quick because we are at a pretty critical level right here. We're at $1.024 trillion. We're on this green line. You can see that this is just holding its support. It's a key level of support. With the monthly close coming in the next few days, if something bad were to happen to Bitcoin or the price were to drop, obviously closing below 1 trillion is extremely bad. If we close below 1.024 trillion, obviously that's a good sign that on the monthly, we're finding this as resistance, and that's kind of what we want to see, right? Because if we look at the monthly recently, this green line here, we haven't closed below it, but we're pretty close, and we're on the 50 moving average, which is right on that level here. So if we do close below it, I think our next target is going to be this $976 billion, this level. But after that, there's obviously a lot more room to the downside from here, right? We can fill this gap down to 754 billion. There is some support within here, but we're looking at this on the macro. You can see that the volumes are dropping off and we're completely overbought on the monthly. So all it takes is for one bad thing to happen, between now and the end of the month, which is, I believe, on Saturday. That's when the monthly closes for crypto. And this could, just set up the next few months for a total market cap and where it's going to end up going. But if we start closing below this $1.024 trillion market cap where we currently are right now, then obviously we're going to see some pretty good resistance at that levels. Last thing I do want to talk about is actually, I don't know. Is there anything you want to talk about, JWeb, before we head off?
I'm all good to wrap it. I got to get off to a doctor's appointment here momentarily. So
yeah, I'm good here too.
Okay. We're going to wrap it on that one. Appreciate everybody for participating today. Chris, House, Scotch, and Stocks. As Chris said, great way to get through this market. Randy, saw you here as well. Appreciate you. If you have not yet, do us a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel to check out all of our shows. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. If you enjoyed our content, share us out anywhere. That is greatly appreciated. Drop some comments. If you have anything you want us to touch on, happy to do that. But we'll be back tomorrow talking about the latest GDP numbers, seeing if there's any progress toward avoiding a government shutdown and anything else that pops up in the meantime. So have a great day, everybody. Stay safe in the markets, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Take care, everyone.